Anyway, we're here now. So today we're going to talk about the new moon. We're going to talk about the planets. We're going to briefly talk about the planets. I'm not an astrologer type of person, so this is going to be like really rudimentary. But the point of this live stream is for us to talk about how to use the planets to come into alignment. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about using the planets and using the moon to manifest and like understanding when to use the moon and when not to use the moon and how to use the moon and other planets, things like that. So before we jump into this, make sure you guys like and subscribe, say hello in the comments. Also, let me know what you guys think. Let me know your opinions about this content because I'm learning about this stuff as much as, well, maybe not as much as you guys, but with you guys. And I'm hoping to share what I learned today with all of you. And I think it's cool. So here we go. So the new moon, in terms of spirituality and manifesting, is a cosmic moment, right? Because it's not the moon isn't dark for like the whole day. It's like an hour or something, but it's slowly moving towards being completely dark in the sky. And this is symbolic of how our subconscious mind becomes louder and louder than our physical reality as we sort of engage more with the shadow aspects of ourself. And it's a reminder that manifestation is not a sprint. We're not rushing to an outcome. Really, what we're talking about when we manifest is we're talking about coherence, and coherence is a frequency reset. So this is where this moment in the new moon, you get to ask yourself, is this the version of me that is capable of sustaining the timeline that I'm trying to call in? Okay. So it's a moment to reflect on your own resonance so that you can make sure that the reality you're calling in actually makes sense for the version of you that you want to become. And if you've been watching my videos over the last week, then you know that we've been talking a lot about alignment and desire and faith. So you already know that manifestation is not about wanting something more, right? Or desiring something more. Really what it is, it's about becoming the version of you that can hold what's coming in. Because just wanting more oftentimes brings like a scarcity mindset or a lack mindset, which then creates jealousy and envy and all these other wonky things, which keep pulling us further and further away from what we actually want. So new moons matter when we talk about alignment specifically because it's amplifying the internal world. It's amplifying that shadow aspect. It's making our intuition louder, meaning our unconscious mind is more easily able to communicate the patterns and those hidden bookmarks with more emotional clarity. And the subconscious mind is more accessible to us, meaning we're able to really think about things more deeply with the whole picture of our unconscious mind, the whole picture of our soul's journey up until that point. So it's really about recalibrating your identity so that you can release any sort of emotional interference, which is like past traumas or, harmful patterns, anything like that, and resetting that resonance so that you can reconnect with that future timeline. Okay. So this is the same inner shift that I've been talking about when I talked about like the timeline alignment and the fragmentation video, where your inner world is becoming the architect of the outer world. So as beforehand, we were letting our outer world impact the inner world. Now we're taking a more empowered stance where I decide what happens outside of myself, right? Or how I interact with it. So it's not just the moon though, right? And this is something that always like makes me a little bit overwhelmed when I think about astrology is we're not just talking about the moon and we're not just talking about the sun. We have many planets in the sky and we have asteroids in the sky and we have all these energies, and all of these things impact our energy in a way that's called planetary interference. But it's important to remember that planetary interference isn't the same thing as chaos, really. Planetary interference is just an emotional pressure that reveals any misalignments. It is its own bookmark. If you remember when we talked about fragmentation in the inner child, all of these moments in your life are these bookmarks that say, hey, you need to be paying attention to this. Well, the energetic pressure is the same thing, where it's saying, hey, this is something you should be paying attention to. So right now, we have Mercury in retrograde, right? That is a frequency interference that's saying, hey, you need to slow down because there's things here you need to take care of. There's things here you should be paying attention to. Additionally, we have Venus, which is the relational clarity. This is where you're saying, like, well, if I were to meet, the man of my dreams today, this is what it would look like. This is what he would look like, and what the relationship would look like, and how I would interact in that relationship if I had it. Or not just relationships, but jobs too. If you are manifesting for a new job, you're going to be saying, okay, well, what would the ideal job look like for me? How would I interact with my coworkers? How would I expect them to handle conflict with me, right? All of those things. And then we have Mars too right now, which is the motivational recalibration, which is the thing that's saying, hey, you need to move now, or saying, hey, you need to slow down a little bit because this thing isn't ready yet. Okay. So planetary interference doesn't block your manifestation. So like, how people say like, well, we're in Mercury retrograde, so don't start that new job, or we're in Mercury retrograde, so don't, that's not plugged in. We're in Mercury retrograde, so don't start any new relationships. Don't do anything technological because of Mercury retrograde. That's not what it's about, right? Mercury retrograde or any sort of planetary interference is just showing us what needs to be aligned. It's showing us those little bookmark moments. Okay, I digress on that. You guys let me know if that makes sense, if you have questions about it. So if you've been watching my live streams about dreams, the live stream that I made about dreams, then you know that interference isn't an enemy. It's just information. And whenever we have information, we are able to better understand where we're going and what we're doing. My videos helps it join the algorithm, and I'm really trying to join the algorithm because I think this content is really important. It has a lot of little hidden nuggets for people who are actively manifesting or trying to understand alignment and sort of timelines and all those kinds of things. So make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell. I do want to start doing weekly Q&As, and as soon as I have enough people who are interested, I'm going to be putting that into play as well. And so, yeah. So there's that. Okay. So specifically, you guys, it's not just the new moon right now. Love nuggets. Who doesn't love nuggets? Okay. Anyway. So we're talking about the new moon, but this new moon specifically is in Cancer. And Cancer is a water sign. It's known for its like natural nurturing and natural introspection. So this Cancer energy is naturally going to be pulling you inward. So we're talking about, the new moon is, the darkest point of the moon in the sky at any particular time of the month. And so really it's asking you to engage with that shadow aspect of yourself and engage with those little bookmark moments so that you can start examining the emotional foundation that's beneath the manifestations. This is really important because a lot of us talk about manifesting like we use it so loosely. People talk about manifestations like we talk about walking and picking out a pair of shoes. Like it's not just a thing that we do. There's emotional energy behind everything that we say or do, right? Because all words are spells. And so if our words are spells because it has energy, then we have to be really specific and precise about what is the reason behind our manifestations. If you're feeling this retrograde, then you are part of like everybody because we are all experiencing this retrograde. I'm experiencing it too, just in different ways. And I guess in some ways, like wanting to take more naps, meditate more and things like that. But there are ways to sort of combat the seemingly harmful energy of the retrograde. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But right now, speaking specifically about the new moon in Cancer, remembering that Cancer rules our home, our safety, our emotional truth, our intuition, and our subconscious patterns. So that's literally what we've been talking about this last week, is all of those things. Who are you in your home? What does safety look like for you? What is your, how do you know when you're operating in emotional truth? How do you know what your intuition is telling you, and what the heck are subconscious patterns, right? All of those things are the things we've been talking about over the last couple of days. So this new moon is meant to be a soft reset. It's meant to be very gentle and nurturing, and sort of, it's supposed to be like a warm hug. Now, if you're not experiencing this like a warm hug, you're not alone, because I'm not experiencing it like a warm hug either. But that's what it's supposed to be, whatever that means. So really, it's meant to prepare your emotional field to hold the acceleration that's coming. Okay. Now, this emotional acceleration, I made a short earlier today talking about this acceleration in the attempt of softening it. But when we're talking about manifesting, we are talking about collapsing the current timeline or constricting it so that we can move from one point to the other in the fastest way possible. So in order to do this in the fastest way possible, we have to do some emotional housekeeping. We have to radically accept where we currently are, where we've also been, so that we can see our future more clearly. So it has to be safe for us to feel. It has to be safe for us to not experience this new moon. I keep wanting to say full moon, but it has to be safe for us to not experience this like a warm hug, because not everything is a warm hug. Okay. That would be spiritual bypassing. We don't do that on this channel. So this is where we reconnect back to the alignment videos that I just posted today, and one's going to be posted tomorrow, because emotional safety is the foundation of aligned living. So surrounding yourself with people that you can be authentically you with, including yourself, is going to set you up for living in a space of alignment, which is going to set you up for being able to experience the warp speed compression that I talked about earlier in a way that's not going to completely like melt your insides. Okay. I'm good. Okay. So let's talk about Star Trek, because I like Star Trek. I like, sci-fi fantasy stuff. So we're going to relate this back to Star Trek. So in Star Trek, the captain commands the crew to put the ship into warp speed, right? But if you've ever watched Star Trek, then you know that when the ship goes into warp speed, there's this moment before it propels into space where it looks like the ship almost moves backwards, right? That moving backwards before it shoots into space is compression. Okay. You can also think about this like a slingshot. If you have a slingshot and you pull that slingshot back to make the rubber bands tight, you are experiencing compression, right? And then when you let that thing go, the rock or whatever goes shooting forward. This is what we're doing when we're manifesting, okay? We are bending space and time so that we can launch forward, okay? So if you're asking for the universe to shift your timeline, if you're asking to let an old timeline go so you can create a new timeline, and you're working on identity calibration, and you've got your subconscious mind organizing and listening and focusing and processing and doing all of these things, don't you think that there might be this moment, like this moment before you launch forward, where things might get tight, things might get a little crunchy, things might feel stagnant, they might feel stuck, because things have to rearrange. Literally, the universe is rearranging itself for you to have the ultimate timeline, the timeline you're manifesting for. The universe is breaking soul contracts. It is healing past generational traumas. It's doing these things for you. So this crunchiness, this feeling of restructuring, this tower moment, if you will, it sort of creates a weird illusion. And it's not weird. It's not a weird illusion. It is just illusion, but we give it sort of a negative connotation. And it looks like stagnation. It looks like abandonment from the universe. It looks like silence. It looks like emotional heaviness and depression and doubt and fear and scarcity. It looks like those things unless you look at those things from a different lens and a different perspective and just say, well, maybe this is the restructuring. This restructuring has to occur before I can go into warp speed, right? The universe bending time is bending time around your intuition. That requires quite a bit of effort, not just on behalf of the universe, but also on your own behalf. That's that consistent effort piece. This is meant to be a deeper layer, a deeper dive, not just into the sort of compression, but also into like what is happening outside of ourselves that's impacting us, like the things that are so outside of our awareness, like planets and moons and suns and all of these things that are not necessarily things we pay attention to every single moment of every single day, and yet they're still impacting us. So yes, it's not just expecting though. Like expecting has, again, sort of that scarcity connotation. I would argue that instead of expectation, it's faith, right? Because if you remember the difference between belief and faith, belief is all of the puzzle pieces put together make this picture, right? So I believe this picture exists because I have all of this evidence that supports that it does. Faith is different though. Faith means that even if the puzzle pieces are like hidden somewhere, or even if the puzzle pieces are in the wrong order, or even if I'm missing a couple puzzle pieces, I still know what the picture is supposed to look like. I still know that it's coming to me. And so you're taking consistent action toward that thing, despite the evidence, or despite some of the evidence that might be contrary to it. So yes and no, because that's that. Okay, let's do a quick check-in. Okay, so let's talk about alignment windows. So because everything is happening in sort of pattern and frequency, that means that there are natural moments of stillness and there's natural moments of action. Mercury retrograde is sort of a natural moment of pause. It is natural introspection. It's meant to be a pause for everyone. And so when we have the new moon in Cancer, that's also asking for introspection. We have these two energies working together to support you taking a rest, right? So if you are in this alignment window, meaning the energy supports this thing that you need. So you need rest. And so the energy is supporting rest. Take some time to think, where do you feel stuck? Remembering the unconscious mind is always listening and it's always supporting your healing. So if you want to know where you feel stuck, allowing your unconscious mind to identify areas where you're emotionally stuck, mentally stuck, or even physically stuck. Where are you feeling impatient? Where you're trying to rush and force these puzzle pieces together? Are there any areas of your life where you feel emotionally unsafe, or a person you feel emotionally unsafe with? Are there areas where you felt disconnected from your future self? And are there areas where you felt like your manifestations are slipping away from you? That where once you could see your manifestation as a possible reality, now you're kind of doubting it or questioning whether it's actually there. Right? Oh, there's a few people. Not me, though. Not me. Of course. I didn't realize how dark it was in here. Come on, light. You guys, there was guys in here changing on my internet, and they unplugged all of my lights. So I was like, oh, it's dark in here. Let me turn this light on. Oh, it's not plugged in. So it's just going to be dark. I'm sorry. It just is what it is today. So here's the thing. If there are people in your life where you're like, okay, you're emotionally unsafe, or areas where you're like, yeah, I'm not connected to my future self, or yeah, I do feel like my manifestations are slipping away. This is confirmation for you to remember that doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're bad or you deserve bad things, and it's not the universe punishing you. In fact, what's even more amazing is that this is actually a signal for you. This is a compression signal. This is that slingshot effect. Okay, thank you for telling me. I'm glad, because I'm looking at it like I can barely even, well, I'm not wearing my glasses either, so maybe that's why. Okay. All right. So just remember, if you're feeling these things, it doesn't mean that you're in misalignment. In fact, it means that you are moving closer and closer to alignment than ever before. And it's signs that your acceleration is just around the corner. Like you are literally preparing to be shot into space. But, substitute space for manifestation. So how do we use this compression energy, right? How do we use the time where we are being pulled back or being held back, so to speak? How do we use that to our advantage? Well, the first thing is to understand this compression energy, or this halting. It's not a passive energy. Think about how much energy it requires to pull that slingshot back or to pull the arrow back in the bow. Think about how much strength that takes, right? The more strength it takes, the farther that rock or arrow or whatever, the farther that thing is going to go, right? So if you have this huge manifestation, like, making $1 million or winning the lottery or whatever, right? I have this huge manifestation. I'm asking for significant force to pull that arrow back. So we kind of have to have this moment of honesty with ourselves and to recognize that the bigger the manifestation, the bigger the energy required to pull the energy back, which means the more energy is needed for that constant, consistent effort. Slingshot and Star Trek are two-tier referencing. I don't know what that means. I hope that's a good thing. Oh, maybe you're saying top tier. That's possible. That would make more sense. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's what we have to do. We need to have some emotional truth, right? Some emotional honesty with ourselves in this moment. Okay. So if this manifestation requires significant effort, then we have to look at whatever emotion is taking up the majority of our space that would be taking us away from our abundance. Okay. So, for example, if you're chasing something, you're chasing your dream, chasing a relationship or chasing a job, if you're chasing that, then the emotion that's taking up the majority of your space is fear. Okay, well, that's fair, right? If you are, making a beautiful meal for your loved ones, well, if you're doing it from a space of love, then the emotion that's taking up space is love, right? So asking yourself whenever you're doing anything, whenever you're actively manifesting, or if you're speaking negatively about something, or if you're speaking positively about something, what emotion is taking up that space? We also have to be honest with ourselves and say, okay, well, if I am in fear, what is fear, or which fear is speaking to me the loudest? Like for me, I know that I have major fears of abandonment. That's a big thing that I've had to work through my entire adult life. So if I'm in a relationship with somebody that I know I'm not in alignment with, right, and I'm afraid to break up with them, I know that the fear that's speaking the loudest is that fear of abandonment, right? As an example, not to be super negative and sad, but that's true. So the next question we have to be emotionally honest about is, which pattern cannot come with me if I move into my highest alignment, right? So like my example of fear of abandonment, that can't come with me in my next timeline, right? I have to be able to gather my soul tribe and to be with them and be emotionally safe and not worry about them abandoning me or me abandoning them, because that's not in alignment with the timeline that I'm manifesting for, right? So there's sort of an identity recalibration happening when you ask yourself these questions and you have these moments of emotional honesty. You're able to say, okay, well, my future identity or my future timeline requires a shift. It requires release of resistance. So we have to align the emotional frequency, which is like love or community or whatever, with a version of you that already has what you're calling for, right? Which is emotional stability or emotional satisfaction or whatever. You guys let me know if that makes sense. That's what I think. So what is nervous system stabilization? This is like nervous system stabilization is a big deal because this is how I know I'm on the right track. This is how I come up with all of my ideas for YouTube. This is how I know when I'm in the energy of the day, is through nervous system stabilization. So what that means is if something is making me anxious or worried or frustrated or whatever, I know that it's not for me or that there's something there that I need to be paying special attention to, right? Because if I'm going to accelerate quickly, efficiently into this next timeline, then I have to have emotional stability. So my nervous system can't be going off willy-nilly all the time. I can't be anxious all the time. Regardless of what's going on, like for example, my internet, right? Not letting me go live is to keep a cool head, stay grounded, right? Because there's a reason for everything. And I think I kept a pretty cool head and I made it all work, right? Because we're here. So understanding that this nervous system, our nervous system, is always communicating something with us. And if we feel peace, then that's telling us one thing. But if we're feeling anxiety, that's telling us something else. And then once we figure out what this nervous system is telling us, we can take necessary action to bring ourselves back to alignment or stability or calm. Okay. So part of this manifesting, and this is why I was saying like our insides turn to gobbledygook, right? Or melting our insides, is because if you're not giving your body a chance to catch up with your timeline, as in your nervous system, if you're not letting your nervous system heal from trauma or whatever, then how is it going to align with a higher frequency? Because you haven't let it catch up yet. All of these things have to be in coherence with each other, right? It's like this. Let's say you get offered a job as, you know, a soccer player. Like you're starting for, I don't know anything about soccer, but you guys probably do. So let's pretend you get offered a starting position on a soccer team, but you have a broken leg, right? And the coach is like, okay, we're going to put you in starter for the next game. And you're like, well, wait a second, my leg's broken. I still have like 6 more weeks to heal. Right. And the coach is like, no, you're going to be fine. Just go in there, do your best. Right. That's absurd. That's ridiculous. That would never happen. Right. And yet we have this mentality in our day-to-day life where it's like, well, I'm not ready for this new relationship because I haven't healed from this last one, but I'm going to go ahead and give it my best go. Right. Like, and then we wonder why we're in toxic relationships, or we wonder why the relationship falls apart because we were never ready for it in the first place. Right. Or, you know, we might have had a really, like I used to work in really scary places. Like I've worked inpatient, outpatient, I've been punched, kicked, etc. And there was a point where it was time for me to go back to work. I took some time away from working in mental health because I needed time for my body to catch up. And I got the job and I was working there and all of this stuff was happening. And I was like, holy crap, like I'm not ready for this. My body has not caught up with this timeline where I'm continuing to work in mental health. Right. And so I took some time away, but then I ended up starting my own business. So I'm kind of working in mental health, but it's like mental health light, right? I no longer have to be worried about being punched in the head. It's nice. Okay. So I'm glad you guys like that analogy because it's true, right? Like we wouldn't expect, you know, a football player to do that. We wouldn't expect a soccer player to do that. And yet we're doing that in our day-to-day lives. It's interesting. So how do we combat the day-to-day frustrations? Because day-to-day frustrations still occur. And again, I will say on this channel, we do not spiritually bypass. And so we have to accept that we're engaging with people who are not healing. Just because you're doing the work doesn't mean the person at the grocery store is doing the work, right? So I use the term grocery store. I go to the grocery store like 3 times a day, you guys. It's like my big outing. It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so here's what we do. We have to use gratitude, or the signals of gratitude. I'm going to talk about that. The energy of gratitude to help us come into coherence with our future timeline. So gratitude isn't just saying thank you, although that is a form of gratitude, but it's also in inherent radical trust in ourselves, right? If I trust myself completely with my life, which I do, then if my nervous system says something's not for me, I'm going to take action, right? Because I trust myself. I know when I will know when it's ready for me to be back into a new relationship, because I'm going to know the symbols. I'm going to know how that feels to be ready. That's going to be clear to me, and I'm going to be able to trust myself to do that, right? So there's a trust and a readiness that comes with that coherence. So it's a compatibility, right? A compatibility with your internal reality matching the external reality. So this is the same principle that I talked about when I was talking about the timeline shifting, is that gratitude isn't just a mood, right? It's really a frequency of acceptance and a frequency of trust that unlocks lack. You guys, Mercury retrograde got me crazy. Okay, let's do a quick integration. So this is a grounding exercise, and this is probably coming at a really good time. If you do not want to do this grounding exercise, you do not have to do this grounding exercise, okay? This is for people who want to do it. If you want to just listen to it and then do it at the later time, or just listen to it and see what I'm even talking about, then you can do that. This is like consented participation, okay? So, all right, here's what I want you guys to do. If you want, take a slow inhale. And when you're ready, a longer exhale. Allow your unconscious mind to relax into safety in this moment. Allow your nervous system to recognize that in this moment, you are safe. And as you notice yourself settling into safety, you may feel your heartbeat slowing down into peace, into relaxation. And when you're ready, I want you to either think or say out loud, I choose the version of me who can hold my highest timeline and manifestation. I move easily into the best version of me. I allow the lessons from past timelines to integrate into the highest version of me. And when you're ready, allowing yourself to come back into this present moment, back into the live stream. And if you feel comfortable, let me know if any emotions or thoughts came up for you. Let me know if you feel more relaxed. Let me know if you had any glimpses of your future. All of those things, or none of those things, are pertinent to you in this moment. And remembering that at any time, these realizations can come up for you. So if you wake up tomorrow morning and you're like, oh my gosh, I had this dream and it was exactly what we were talking about, let me know that in the comments too, when you come back to it. Okay. I'm so glad we did that. I actually feel a lot better myself. Okay. So if you're following any of my dream analysis content, then you know that your subconscious mind has already been preparing you for this moment. that your unconscious mind has led you to this live stream so that you can better understand some of the energies that may be impacting you. Remember that Cancer teaches us that manifestation is not about desire, and it's not even about action, really. It's about emotional capacity mixed with intentional effort. You can only receive things from the universe that you feel safe holding. Okay. So if you're asking for $1 million, but you have a spending habit, right? You overspend habitually. The universe probably isn't going to give you $1 million because you don't have the emotional capacity to hold that, right? So this new moon, and that's for me, okay? I know why the universe isn't giving me $1 million, okay? My shoe habit and my plant habit is enough to, to warn the universe, I don't have the emotional capacity for $1 million, not yet. So the new moon helps us understand and strengthen our emotional boundaries, not just with other people, but with ourselves as well. The energy helps us to build an inner safety, which is what we were just doing. What we just did through that activation is created a sort of bridge between your internal worlds and your external expectation. You gave yourself an opportunity to listen to the unconscious mind, which is really all this Cancer new moon is asking you to do. In this moment, you allow yourself to clear away any emotional or planetary interference or any other energetic interferences. Because in this moment, you are safe to feel exactly whatever it is that you're feeling, right? And if you did that, if you did give yourself that opportunity, then you might also feel that stabilization of your resonance. So in this moment, it's not that you have to do anything, but it's just a feeling of peace. It's a feeling of not having to go. You don't have to do anything right now, that you're safe to just be. Because that's what the universe is asking you to do before it propels you forward. So this is preparation, right? This is compression, which is that preparation for acceleration. So the truth is, even if your manifestations feel stuck, or you feel stuck, or stagnant, or frustrated, or alone, or abandoned, or anything, that is fear, that is doubt, and that is normal, okay? If things are feeling slow, to remember that you're not failing. You're not blocked and you're not regressing. You are not moving backwards. It feels like you are, but that is the illusion of compression. To remember that this warp speed energy requires activation, right? It requires energy to pull things back tight. And the tighter, farther back you go, the farther forward you're going to be able to go, right? So the new moon is preparing you. Mercury retrograde is preparing you. This timeline is tightening, it is bending, and your identity is actively aligning with the timeline that you're moving into. You can already feel your emotional field stabilizing. I know I feel mine stabilizing just talking about it, because I know acceleration is what's next, not just for me, but for anyone who's here actively engaging in this material, who's actively searching, who's actively working towards alignment. Your acceleration is coming. I've been saying this for the past 10 days, that you are on the precipice. And the reason you're on the precipice is because you are actively engaging, because you care, because you want it. And the universe wants to give you what you want, right? It's preparing you for that emotional capacity. I was literally thinking about all this napping an hour ago. Well, see, this is your confirmation that you are on the right track, that your manifestations are right there. You're welcome anytime. It's what I'm here for. I'm here. That's why I say that, people are led to these live streams, not for me, although I think I'm cool, but for those confirmations, for those synchronicities, so that you know that you're on the right track, right? So here's the thing, guys. Here's my final thought before I pull some cards from my new deck. I want you guys to remember that on this channel, we don't spiritually bypass. We are going to go deeper and deeper every live stream into the energies of the universe and the cosmos. We're going to continue talking about alignment. We're going to continue talking about timeline and identity shifts. We're going to talk about energetic interference. And we're also not just going to talk about these things theoretically, but we're going to talk about them real world, right? Because there's definitely been moments, especially the last few days, where I've not necessarily been in energetic resonance, or where I haven't been following my own advice, where I've had to correct myself, right? Because that's real, right? There is a sense of reality. I mean, we're talking about metaphysics and we're talking about spirituality and a lot of abstract or cognitive concepts. But once this live stream ends, you have to go back to real life, right? And so these are tools for you to take back to your real life and to implement and see what works for you, right? Because what works for me might not work for you and vice versa. But this is the place for us to talk about it and figure it out together. Okay. So I hope this helps. I hope this all makes sense. I hope this is exciting to you because it's exciting to me. As I'm doing these live streams and I'm looking at all these connections, I'm like such a nerd, you guys. This whole day I've been like, I can't wait to talk about Star Trek. I can't wait to talk because so how I thought about it, I was in the shower this morning and I was like, what am I going to talk about today? Oh my gosh. And I just saw, I can't remember what it's called now, but the ship, I saw the ship about to go into warp speed. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about that. That sounds cool. And that's how it began. All right, guys, this is an energetic update for all of you. On these live streams, I'm not necessarily doing personal readings, but I am doing the Enterprise. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing that I didn't remember. Oh my gosh. Do I lose points, you guys? Am I losing points with you for not knowing that? It's been a long day. Okay. Anyway, this is a collective reading for all of us. Just talking about the energies. This is a really cool deck. I just got it. This is an alignment deck, which is cool because I was like, I wonder if I'm going to -1. Darn it. I was looking at buying a new deck and this one was there and it was beautiful and it was all about alignment. And I was like, well, that's kind of my shtick. So let's get it. What do my viewers need to know over the next couple of days? Okay. Anything else? Okay. Anything else? Anything else my viewers need to know over the next couple of days? Whoop. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so for these readings, because it is sort of a collective reading, take what resonates with you. Some of this is going to be for, maybe one person, or some of it could resonate with all of you. So if something doesn't resonate with you, just leave it, right? It might be for somebody else. But if something does resonate with you, please let me know in the comments because it's helpful for me to know when I'm on the right track. Otherwise, I'm just spewing. Okay, so I got some cool cards here. First of all, we have the Conscious Creator, which is hilarious because that's literally what we're talking about. Right? So this card says, be clear about the life you desire. That's that precision of language. Write things down, visualize it, and feel it as if it's already there. The universe responds to precision, unwavering intentions. So remember, this is coherence. Okay? This is bringing all of those things into alignment. It's not enough to just want something, but you have to know that you're going to get it. You have to know that you can hold it once you receive it. Then we have the infinite self. The path to abundance is not about acquiring more, but about uncovering the infinite potentials within you. As you journey inward, which is like the whole point of this whole live stream today, you will discover that your true self is limitless, capable of manifesting everything that you have envisioned. So there you go. I love saying, when I do my manifesting, I love saying like, this is what I want, but I'm open to better. I'm open to more, right? I'm open to, going on a wild adventure goose chase type of a thing, as long as it's also within alignment with this thing I'm manifesting. Why not? Then we have fortunate timing. The path ahead is lined with gold, and the energy around you is primed with success. This is a time to make a move and seize the opportunities before you. So remember, right now, you might be in compression, but you might also already be moving out of compression, because compression can be as long as it needs to be. But if you're already in awareness of what that compression means for you, then you might already be moving out of it and seeing signs towards your highest timeline. So remember, this is about timing, like divine timing. It's not just because you want it now, right? It's about the universe saying, like, yes, you want it now and you're ready for it. Okay. There's a couple other pieces here, specifically around love and community. So this is like the individual, or like everyone, but individually within yourself. But these two cards are about like your community. So the first one we have is the inner circle. Those who are closest to you can have a defining influence on who you are. As you clear your inner circle of stagnant energy, more aligned relationships will flow into your life effortlessly. So I'm going to give you an example of how this kind of pertains to me, but thinking about how this pertains to you as you listen. So the other day, someone really close to me watched one of my live streams. And when I asked that person what they thought about the live stream, they were like, I didn't really, it wasn't that interesting to me. It was kind of over my head. It was really confusing and it wasn't really my thing. I was like, that makes me so sad, right? Because like literally I put so much time and effort into making these things awesome for you guys. But then I had to realize that like this live stream isn't for everyone, right? This live stream isn't for everyone. It's for people who are on a trajectory, right? And maybe that person isn't on their trajectory yet. Maybe in 5 years, that person's going to come back to this live stream and be like, oh my gosh, I get it now, right? So I had to kind of come to terms with that inner circle feeling of like, okay, well, maybe I need to clear this and accept this, right? And forgive that person and forgive myself, because I was like, well, maybe this content isn't good. Maybe I should just go back to doing readings exclusively. And then I was like, no, no, we're not doing that. I'm not letting other people determine that, right? So you guys let me know if that makes sense to you, or if there's something in there that you're like, oh my gosh, I can see something similar to that happening. And to keep in mind, that person's not bad or mean. Like I still love that person. They're not like, off with their heads or anything. It's just like, okay, I had to realize that some things are not for everyone. Okay. Then we have the family healing card. As you cultivate peace within your family or your soul tribe, whether through direct healing or by releasing attachment to an outcome, you bring harmony to your energetic field. You are here to create a new legacy. If you're here in this live stream right now, all of us, anyone, all of us, the whole of us, we are building a legacy, whether individually or together, right? Because we have a higher purpose. You, whoever you are, you have a higher purpose, whether it's healing, whether it's cooking, whether it's building, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's becoming CEO of a business or a performer or whatever. You are building your legacy, and the universe sees you and is working with you to make that thing happen. So let's talk about some things that might be getting in the way. And we're going to talk about it because the cards want to talk about it. So, So there's 2 more cards that came out, and they came out together. So these are blockages. So the first one is scarcity mindset. And this is a big deal for what we've been talking about with manifesting. If you believe there is not enough time, resources, or love, then you will unknowingly create that experience. Shift your focus from fear of loss to trust in overflow. What is meant for you will never be scarce. So what that means to me is like trusting in your overflow, meaning you will always have enough. You will always have enough money. Your bills will always be paid. And you're manifesting to have more than enough, right? And if that's the case, then you don't have to worry that it won't happen. Worrying is such a useless energy. Anytime I have ever worried about something, it's always like finished in my favor, and then I've wasted all of that time and energy worrying, right? So don't do that. That's bad. And it makes you old. Anyway, the next thing that's blocking us as a collective is procrastination. Procrastination is not, procrastination is often a symptom, not a root. Look into what is delaying you and ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What fear or doubt is holding me back? Understand the deeper cause, understanding, I can't even read. Understanding the deeper cause allows you to dissolve and shift into your flow and focus. So this is exactly what we've been talking about with emotional calibration and emotional auditing. So really, these cards are just an awesome confirmation, and I am so grateful for that. I hope you guys have found value in this information. I hope that this has all made sense to you and excited you and brought you to a space of resonance. A great idea comes as sudden inspiration, igniting feelings of hope and enthusiasm. Believe in its potential and begin taking deliberate steps to bring it into reality. So there you go. All right, guys, that's what I have for you. If anybody has any questions, I'll be here for as long as it takes to drink a little bit of water. If anybody has any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything to add, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I am so grateful to have such an amazing community of people. Yay! You guys, make sure you give a special thanks to Sarah. Sarah is my mod, and she's always here. Despite what's going on in her life, she literally puts everything on pause to help other people, not just me, but she's a very caring, loving person. So make sure you throw some likes, some hearts in the chat, maybe not even for me, but for Sarah, so that she knows that she's loved and wanted and cared for in this community. Also for Hooks and Hammer, for also being here, because it's super awesome. And all of my friends who joined this live stream, maybe even for the first time. You guys, my brain is dead. I'm so happy that you guys are all here today. Thank you for sharing your energy with me and letting me share my energy with you. I hope that you guys are having an amazing week and will continue to be in resonance as you go throughout your days. All right, everyone. I will see you all on the flip side where your alignment begins. Bye.